Hey y'all, it's me again. It's been a while since I made a video, so I figured I was kind of being inspired to. Sorry, my hair's like all over the place today. I was starting to think about, maybe that the ways I can help. I was trying to figure out ways that I could help. You know, um, I wouldn't say that I have any special gifts or I think that's something that I always struggled with was I never really applauded myself too much. But I was thinking about how I got to where I was, where I am. I questioned for a long time, like, why was it that I got visited and why was it that they chose me? And they'll choose everybody, just so you know. It's not like a special thing. I think it's more of like figuring out the path or the way or the keys or whatever the case is to get to that point where you recognize yourself and you open up. So I figured I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to try and start and talk to people because I was like, maybe if somebody had told me like a little more, I wouldn't have stumbled upon it maybe, but at the same time, maybe I can give an epiphany to someone and it can inspire them and move them forward on their path. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start talking about this. And I'm also going to start talking about some avatars because I feel like when I was first coming on and I was realizing that Jesus, for example, was one of my mentors, one of the avatars I really stuck close to. It wasn't because I was Christian. It was just because obviously as a Catholic, you're raised with all these stories. But I was such a big person into history and such that I delved into Jesus's life pretty thoroughly. And I always felt like, hey guys, I pressed the button. He definitely was a mentor for me of my ascension path. And I'm not saying that I'm ascended. I let go of it and I'm back on again. But at least I can help people get to that point. Because maybe they haven't familiarized themselves with Jesus in his metaphorical sense. Because that's really big. It's really big. So I'm going to get to it. Basically, the first thing I wanted to talk about was guides. And angels, and I'm going to start with guides. And like, if you're wondering to yourself, like, how do I connect with my guides? Have I connected with my guides? Do I talk to them right now? Am I talking to them right now? And what I want to say to you is how I stumbled upon it was through, I was reading a book one night and I started realizing that I was contemplating thoughts of the book. And I was telling myself, at least from what I believed at the time, that's a cool idea. I wonder if I could do that. And when you're talking about the first person, and you have to think about this and really reflect on it, you're always referring to yourself. Should I do this? Should this be the best path for me? Like, you're always referring to yourself. And now, when you are in this contemplative state with your mind, we always think like it's talking to ourselves, right? And what actually clued into me was that this responding, and I don't want to say it's a voice because like sometimes that creeps people out. They're like, oh no, you're like a little nuts because you're talking to voices. But that's not what it is. We all have it. We all know what I'm talking about. It's like you're talking to yourself, right? And for those of you that want to understand the difference of what it is to talk to yourself and what it is to talk to a guide, you have to start to understand and listen to the responses that you get back. Sometimes you will ask out a question like, is this the best thing for me? And the voice that you're hearing, it's always your voice. Like you're hearing yourself like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. But you have to pay attention to this one word, you. That is the sprouting of that idea, because the question becomes, who is you? When you hear the voice that you believe is yours resoundingly coming back and saying, do you think that's the best course of action? When this other person says you to you, you have to pay attention to that, because that is your guide talking to you. Guides will never tell you what to do. They will never coerce you into anything. They're very, very, very prophetic in the way they speak, and also at the same time, they will always guide you. They're not there to change your mind. They're not there to persuade you to do something. So when they formulate the way they speak back, it's always, do you think this is the best thing for you? What do you think about this? Perhaps this is the best course for you. You pay attention to that word you, because that's when you start to realize, hey, if I'm talking to me, why is me referring to the word you? So please pay attention. Hey guys, sorry. My little son wants to get involved. Yeah, he's eating his eggs for today, which he's not done yet. But yeah, that was something I wanted to talk to you guys about, because a lot of people wonder, like, when you get these guides, like, even how do you decipher if one's good or one's bad? Shh, please, honey. You weren't chiming in until I went on this video. And the best thing I can say in terms of, like, trying to decipher is, like I said, they do not ever coerce you. So if they're saying things to you, or if this voice comes back, and says something like, oh, I think you should do this, and there's a definitive answer, I would say that most likely you're dealing with something of a lower vibration, because that is a coercion. And those of the higher nature never coerce. They always want things to resonate with you. They always want things to be of your choice and your doing, because it's, again, our soul evolution. So if you're hearing back in your mind, oh, I think you should do this, stop right there, realize that, and say, oh, this is a negative entity. I wouldn't say negative. I mean, like, a lower, like, they're trying to get some energetic movement from you, because if you start to follow their actions, they can kind of siphon energy off of you from that decision. So pay attention to those things, because a higher self or a guide, for example, will never tell you what to do. So that's just food for thought, and focus on the word you. And when you start to hear, like, oh, I think you, most likely you were with your guide. So I don't know if that will help people, but it did for me, because when I had that epiphany of who is you, I started realizing, and then the voice morphed as time went on, because it's no longer your voice. You realize it is a separate, I wouldn't say entity, but an essence of yourself. So it morphs, and it also has a name. And at the time I had one specific guide, I no longer have him. I no longer have him, because that time when I was given that choice, I was told by my guide that if I chose the latter, if I chose not to make any action, that I was going to lose him. And that was quite devastating, but I know now that I have another guide. We haven't built that hardcore relationship, because, like I said, I just started getting back into communication. Not to say that I didn't have a guide the whole time. I did. I was just ignoring it. And we can ignore them. They are not here to fluster us or put us into any bad position. So if they realize, like, oh, this person's not paying attention at this moment of their lives, it's okay. They wait and they understand. So don't get discouraged by that. He's gonna cry his eyes out. So I wanted to drop that in, and I think that's like a small little, honey, give me a second, please. Yeah, he's getting cranky. I guess that's my time to go. But I just wanted to give you guys that heads up in case you guys were wondering, how do I know if I'm talking to a guide? So it's a quick video, but I think that was helpful, because that changed my life when I first started on my path. So I'm hoping that this will do the same for you too. Thanks. Bye.